The ice moon of Kethis 7 stretched out in white silence beneath Commander Teo's feet. Everything was cold and empty, like the spaces between stars. His team had been exploring the crystalline caves for 3 weeks now, digging through frozen rock to find minerals that the human colonies needed to survive. Teo was a xenobiologist, which meant he studied life in strange places. But Kethis 7 seemed like a place where nothing could live. He led his small team deeper into the caves. The walls around them glowed with faint blue ice, and their flashlights cut through the darkness like thin knives. Dr. Haywan walked beside him, checking readings on her scanner. She was the team's medical officer and one of the few people Teo trusted completely. Behind them came Colonel Min Kyung with 2 security officers. Min Kyung was tough and professional. He followed orders without question. The team had discovered something strange on their sensors. There was heat coming from deep within the cave system. Heat meant energy, and energy often meant water or minerals. It could also mean danger. On a moon like this, anything unexpected was usually a problem. As they went deeper, Teo felt the temperature rising. His breath became less visible in the cold air. The walls changed color from pure white to darker shades of blue and gray. Then they found it, a massive chamber with walls of crystal that seemed to sing with the heat pouring from underground vents. And in the middle of that chamber, curled up near the warmth, was a creature. Teo stopped walking. His heart began to beat faster. Everyone behind him stopped too. The creature lifted its head and looked at them with eyes that glowed like small moons. It was a Vexthor cub. "Nobody move," Min Kyung said, his hand going to his weapon. His voice was calm but sharp like broken glass. A Vexthor was one of the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. They were hunters, killers, destroyers. Teo had read the reports. Vexthor had attacked human colonies. They had killed thousands of people. They were the reason every human child learned to fear the darkness above. And this one was here, right in front of them. But Teo could not move his eyes away from the creature. The cub was small, perhaps 3 feet tall. Its scales were black like the night sky, but they shimmered with colors that made Teo think of oil on water, deep purples and blues. The markings on its skin glowed with soft light, like bioluminescence under the skin. It had 4 limbs and a long tail that curved around its body. Its eyes were not filled with hunger or rage. They were filled with something else, something that looked like fear. The cub was wounded. There was a deep gash along its left side, and dried blood crusted the edges of the wound. It looked thin, too, almost starved. Its breathing was shallow and painful. It looked, Teo thought, like something dying. "We need to fall back and report this," Min Kyung said. He was already reaching for his communication device. "Wait," Teo said. "Sir, that's a Vexthor. Protocol is clear. We eliminate any hostile life forms we encounter." Teo took a slow step toward the cub. The creature did not attack. It did not even move. It just watched him with those glowing eyes. And in those eyes, Teo saw something that made his chest hurt. He saw loneliness. He saw pain. He saw something that looked very much like surrender. "It's not attacking us," Teo said quietly. "Look at it. It's hurt and alone." "That makes it more dangerous, sir," Min Kyung said. "Wounded animals are unpredictable." Dr. Haywan stepped forward with her medical scanner. "The commander is right. Look at the vital signs. This creature is dying. It's barely conscious. It won't attack." She paused, and then she added, "Sir, this is a juvenile. This is a young one." Teo knelt down slowly, keeping his movements smooth and gentle. The cub's eyes tracked him as he moved. He did not pull out any weapons. He kept his hands visible and open. "Easy," he whispered, though he knew the creature could not understand his words. "Easy, little one." Min Kyung stepped forward. "Commander, I cannot allow this. You are putting yourself and the team at risk. Standard protocol. I am aware of the protocol, Teo said, not looking away from the cub. And I am ordering that we do not harm this creature. There was a long silence. Min Kyung's jaw clenched. But he did not argue further. Officers in the human military learned to follow orders, even when those orders seemed foolish. Teo reached into his pack and pulled out a nutrition bar. These were designed for human astronauts, but they contained basic proteins and energy. He broke off a small piece and held it out. The cub's nose twitched. Its tail moved slightly. It lifted its head a little higher. The creature reached out slowly, almost cautiously. Its movements were careful. Not like the swift strikes of a predator, but the hesitant motions of something afraid. Its mouth opened, showing teeth that glowed faintly. Then it took the piece of food from Teo's hand. Teo felt the warmth of the creature's breath. He felt the light touch of its mouth, and he did not feel fear. Instead, he felt something unexpected. He felt a strange kind of recognition, as if he was looking into a mirror that showed him something of himself. "We need to get it to a medical facility," Dr. Haywan said. She was scanning the cub now, making notes on her device. "This wound is infected. Without treatment, it will not survive more than a few days." "We cannot bring a Vex Thor to the colony," Min Kyung said. "The command center will never allow it. They will execute it immediately." Teo was already making decisions. He took off his outer jacket and carefully, very carefully, wrapped it around the cub's injured side. The creature did not resist. It seemed to understand that he was trying to help. It seemed to trust him somehow, despite the fact that they were different species, despite the fact that everything in the universe said they should be enemies. "Then we will not tell them," Teo said. "There is an old research facility 2 levels beneath the main colony. It has been closed for 5 years. No one uses it anymore. We will take the cub there." "Sir, that is not following orders," Min Kyung said. But his voice had changed. He sounded less certain now. "No," Teo said, "but it is the right thing to do." He stood up slowly, cradling the small creature in his arms. The cub weighed almost nothing. It felt fragile, like something made of glass that could break at the slightest pressure. Teo thought about his own childhood, about being moved from place to place, about being unwanted and unloved. He thought about the cook named Hyejin, who had shown him one small act of kindness, and how that had changed everything. "What are you going to name it?" Haywan asked softly. Teo looked at the cub. The creature's eyes were already closing, exhaustion pulling it toward sleep. The glow in its markings was fading. "Kea," he said. "I will call her Kea." And in that moment, standing in a crystal cave on a frozen moon at the edge of the galaxy, Teo made a choice that would change everything. He chose to see past the fear. He chose to answer suffering with kindness. He chose to believe that compassion was stronger than all the weapons in all the fleets of all the human kingdoms. The abandoned research facility was cold and dark, just like Teo remembered it. No one had worked here in years. The equipment was old, but still functional. There was medical equipment, computers, and, most importantly, rooms where things could be kept safely away from prying eyes. The facility was perfect for keeping a secret. Teo laid Kea on a medical bed. Dr. Haywan immediately began her work, removing his jacket from the cub's wound and examining the damage more closely. The gash was deep and infected. Bacteria had started to grow in the wound. Without treatment, Haywan was right. Kea would not survive more than a few days. "The wound is about 3 weeks old," Haywan said, looking at the damage. "Whatever did this was trying to kill her, and whatever caused this separation from her herd was deliberate. Look at the claw marks. These are from another Vex Thor. Her own kind did this." Teo stood watching as Haywan cleaned the wound and applied advanced medical treatments. She used antibiotics and regeneration stimulators. She wrapped the injury with smart bandages that would help the tissue grow back. The whole process took 3 hours. When she was done, Kea was sleeping deeply, her breathing steady and strong. "She will survive," HFY said, "but she needs rest and nutrition. She is severely malnourished." "Thank you," Teo said. "Do not thank me yet," HFY replied. "We have just made the biggest mistake of our careers. When this is discovered, we will both face serious consequences. They will call us traitors. They will say, we put the entire colony at risk." Teo knew she was right, but he could not bring himself to care about the consequences. Something had shifted in him when he held Kea. Something fundamental had changed. Over the next 3 weeks, Teo spent every moment he could with the cub. He brought food, specially prepared nutrition that would help her grow. He cleaned her wound daily and changed her bandages. He sat beside her bed for hours, not speaking, just being present. Slowly, Kea recovered. Her strength returned. The light in her markings grew brighter, but more importantly, she began to respond to him. On the 8th day, Kea's eyes opened and focused directly on Teo. Her tail moved slightly. She made a soft sound, something between a chirp and a growl. Teo felt his heart race. The cub was awake and aware. She was looking at him with recognition. "Hello, Kea," he said softly. "I am Teo. You are safe now." He did not know if the creature understood his words, but something in his voice seemed to calm her. Her body relaxed. Her eyes stayed on him, watching him like he was the most important thing in the world. By day 15, Kea was strong enough to move around. She climbed down from the medical bed carefully, testing her legs. They wobbled at first, then became stronger. She walked around the small room exploring everything, her nose working constantly. She smelled the walls, the equipment, the food. She smelled Teo. And then she did something remarkable. She came back to him and placed her head against his chest. She made that soft chirping sound again. Teo reached out slowly and touched her head. Her scales were warm and smooth, not rough like he had imagined. They were beautiful, actually. They glowed softly when she was calm and relaxed. "What happened to you, Kea?" Teo whispered. "Who hurt you? Why were you alone?" He knew the creature could not answer, but HFY had brought him something that might help. She had found old Vexthor communication databases in the research facility's archives. These were files left from before the wars, from a time when scientists had tried to study the Vexthor species more carefully. Teo began showing Kea images from the databases. He showed her pictures of Vexthor colonies, of their cities that seemed to be carved from black stone and bone. He showed her images of Vexthor social structures, their hierarchies, their hunting patterns. And he started to understand something important. Vexthor society was brutal. In their herd structure, strength meant everything. The weak were cast out. The different were abandoned. And there was something else in the data, something about their approach to hunting and survival. The database described how young Vexthor were taught to be ruthless, to kill without hesitation, to show no mercy. But there were also old records, very old records, from Vexthor philosophers and artists. These records spoke of something different. They spoke of concepts that sounded like beauty, like compassion, like love. These were old ideas, the records said, that had been lost over thousands of years as Vexthor society became harder and more focused on survival and dominance. Teo understood then. Kea was different. Something in her did not fit the brutal pattern of her species. She had shown mercy when she should have shown violence. And because she was different, she had been cast out to die. He looked at the cub watching him, and he knew. He knew exactly how she felt. He had been different too. In the crowded orphanages and foster homes of the human colonies, he had been quiet and thoughtful when others wanted him to be tough. He had asked questions when others accepted answers. He had cared about things when others were busy just surviving. And because he was different, he had been alone. "They threw you away because you were kind," Teo said to Kea. "Just like my people threw me away because I asked too many questions and cared too much about things that did not matter in a survival-focused society." Kea tilted her head, her markings glowing a warm gold color. She made a different sound now, longer and more complex, something that almost sounded like speech. On day 20, something happened that made Teo realize how significant his decision had been. Haywan rushed into the facility with urgent news. "The High Command wants to see all research teams," she said. "They want detailed reports on everything we found in the caves. It is a standard briefing, but Teo, we need to be careful. They are asking very specific questions about biological discoveries." Teo's blood went cold. They knew. Somehow, someone suspected. The facility was going to be discovered. Kea was going to be discovered. But then something unexpected happened. Haywan pulled out a small device. "Before you ask, yes, I scrambled the data. I deleted all sensor readings from the cave. I made it look like there was equipment malfunction. There is no evidence that we found anything at all in that chamber. The facility is clean. There is no evidence that we have been here." Teo stared at her. "You are risking everything." "I know," Haywan said. She looked at Kea, who was watching them both with those intelligent eyes. "But she is not what the High Command says Vexthor are. Look at her. She is a person. She has thoughts and feelings. She understands kindness. If we turn her over to them, they will dissect her for weapons research. They will destroy her to try to understand her. I could not live with myself if I let that happen." Kea made that complex chirping sound again. She walked over to Haywan and did the same thing she had done with Teo. She placed her head gently against the doctor's chest. Haywan's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, little one," she whispered, "what kind of world have we built where kindness like yours is seen as weakness?" Over the next week, Teo and Haywan had many conversations about what Kea meant for humanity's understanding of the Vexthor. They began secretly documenting everything, hiding their research in encrypted files. They gathered data about Kea's behavior, her intelligence, her emotional responses to stimuli. They compiled evidence that directly contradicted everything the military believed about Vexthor nature, and they realized that they had discovered something that could change the entire future of the galaxy. But they would have to be very careful. Because there were forces in the human government that did not want peace with the Vexthor. There were people who profited from war, who needed an enemy to maintain their power. The question was not whether Kea would be discovered. The question was what would happen when she was. 6 months later, Kea stood in a large, transparent observation chamber aboard the orbital research station Harmony. The station orbited above Kethis 7, suspended in the vacuum of space like a jewel made of metal and light. From here, the ice moon below looked small and beautiful, like a pearl floating in darkness. Kea had grown significantly. She was now nearly as tall as Teo, her scales shimmering with deeper colors than before. Her markings had become more complex, developing patterns that Teo had learned meant different emotions and thoughts. The wound on her side had healed completely, leaving only a thin scar that would fade with time. The discovery had happened exactly as Teo had feared. A routine equipment inspection had found evidence of the facility's use. Questions had been asked, and within 48 hours, Colonel Min Kyung had confronted him with the truth. But Min Kyung, it turned out, had made his own choice. Instead of reporting them immediately, he had brought the matter to the Galactic Council's scientific division rather than the military command. The council had been divided. Some wanted Kea destroyed as a security threat. Others wanted to use her for military purposes, to extract information about her species' weaknesses. But a few council members, influential ones, had pushed for something different. They wanted to study her, to understand what made her so different from other Vexthor. That was how Teo ended up here, in the orbital research station with Kea, working as her primary caretaker and study partner. The council had given him a choice: agree to allow Kea to be studied or lose her to the military research division, where she would be treated as a weapon. He had chosen the station. At least here, there were scientists who seemed to care about Kea's welfare. At least here, there were rules against torture and harmful experimentation. Kea turned away from the observation window and looked at Teo. She made a series of complex sounds, clicking and chirping, variations in pitch and tone that had become increasingly sophisticated over the months. At first, Teo had not understood, but slowly he had begun to recognize patterns. Kea was not just making random sounds. She was communicating. Teo had brought a universal translator, a device designed to help humans understand alien languages. He activated it, pointing it toward Kea as she made her sounds again. The translator processed her speech, analyzed the patterns, and produced words on the small screen. What it created was not perfect, but it was recognizable. Teo, why here? Want home. Teo's heart ached. Kea wanted to go home, but Kea had no home. She had been cast out, abandoned. The caves of Kethis 7 were the closest thing to home she had. "This is home now, Kea," he said gently. "We are learning things here. We are studying together." Kea made a different sound, one that the translator interpreted as a question. "Learn what?" Teo sat down on a bench, and Kea sat beside him, her long tail curling around his leg. He tried to think of how to explain what they were doing, how to make a young Vexthor understand why she was being kept in a research station instead of running free in her own world. "We are learning how to help our peoples understand each other," Teo said. "Your people and my people have been enemies for a long time. We kill each other. We make war. But you are different, Kea. You are not like other Vexthor, and I am not like other humans. Together we are proving that the war does not have to continue, that peace is possible." This concept seemed to confuse Kea. The translator showed no output from her in response. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, "War why? Vexthor kill humans. Humans kill Vexthor, both strong. Why not just fight?" It was a profound question. Innocent in its way, but cutting to the heart of everything the council was trying to understand. Teo realized that Kea, raised in isolation and taught by the Vexthor databases, did not fully understand the complexity of interstellar politics and war. "Because," Teo said slowly, "fighting makes both sides suffer. And there is something better than fighting. There is understanding. There is cooperation. There is friendship." Kea made a sound that the translator rendered as friendship, with genuine confusion. Apparently, friendship was a concept not well developed in Vexthor culture. Over the following weeks and months, Teo worked with linguists and anthropologists from the station to develop a real communication system with Kea. They created an expanded translation matrix that could handle more complex Vexthor speech patterns. They taught Kea human language, and she proved to be an extraordinarily quick learner. Within 3 months, she could speak basic human language, though her accent was strange and her understanding of grammar imperfect. But what was even more remarkable was what Kea began teaching them about her own species. Through careful questioning and patient communication, she revealed information that contradicted everything the military believed about Vexthor nature. She described a complex social structure that had nothing to do with blind brutality. She talked about hierarchies and rules, yes, but also about cooperation and community bonds. She spoke of art and music, concepts that humans did not know existed in Vexthor culture. "Long ago," Kea explained one day, her words still rough but increasingly clear, "Vexthor have many things: art, music, beauty. But ancestors say this weak. This make us die. So we forget. We only keep survival. We only keep strength. The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The council reviewed the data. They realized that Vexthor were not genetically violent. They were culturally violent. Their brutality was learned, not inherent. And if brutality could be learned, then other things could be learned too. Compassion, cooperation, peace. But not everyone welcomed this understanding. In the military division of the council, voices began to rise in opposition. Commanders argued that understanding Vexthor weakness would give them better advantage in war. Others claimed that Kea was a spy, that she was manipulating human researchers to gain intelligence about human technology and military capabilities. One day, Admiral Jae Sung came to the research station personally. He was a hard man with cold eyes, a career military officer who had seen decades of conflict. He demanded access to Kea. He wanted to interrogate her about Vexthor military capabilities. Teo refused. "Sir," Teo said, standing in the council chamber with Admiral Jae Sung and 3 other military officers, "Kea is not a soldier. She is not a spy. She is a young person who has suffered great trauma. Interrogating her would violate every principle of ethical research and basic human compassion." "Compassion," Admiral Jae Sung said the word like it was an obscenity. "That is the problem with people like you, Teo. You see an enemy and you see a friend. You see a threat and you see a child. That is why we have wars. That is why we lose soldiers. Compassion is weakness in a universe full of predators." "With respect, sir," Teo replied, "I disagree. I believe compassion is the only thing that can save us." The argument went back and forth, but in the end, Teo was protected by the scientific council. They overruled the military request. Kea would not be interrogated, but they also made a decision that concerned Teo deeply. Kea would continue to be studied. She would be kept in the station, not for her safety or well-being, but as a research specimen. She would be monitored constantly, and she would be expected to provide information about her species, willingly or not. That night, Teo sat with Kea in her quarters. She sensed his troubled mood. She reached out and touched his face with her clawed hand, very gently. "Something hurting you?" Kea said. It was not a question. Teo realized something in that moment. He had been so focused on saving Kea, on protecting her, that he had not considered the possibility that she had feelings about her situation too. She was not a pet. She was not a research subject. She was a person, with her own desires and fears and hopes for the future. "I am afraid," Teo admitted. "I am afraid that I saved your life only to put you in a different kind of cage. I brought you here thinking I was helping you. But maybe I only exchanged one prison for another." Kea made a soft sound, something that sounded almost like a purr. "You save me," she said simply. "In cave, I wait to die. You come, you save. That real. This place hard. But I alive because of you. That matter." But as Teo held Kea close that night, he wondered if she would always feel that way. He wondered what would happen when she grew older, when her need for Teo became less intense. He wondered if she would resent him for keeping her isolated from her own kind. These questions haunted him as the station drifted through the darkness, suspended between 2 worlds that did not know how to understand each other. 2 years had passed since the day Teo found Kea in the crystal cave. Kea was now almost fully grown, her scales shimmering with deep purples and blues that seemed to shift like water in moonlight. She stood nearly as tall as Teo, and she was beautiful in a way that made him sometimes forget that she belonged to a species humans had feared for centuries. They were alone in the observation chamber again, as they were many nights. This was their private place, far from the cameras and instruments that monitored most of the station. The council permitted this time together because it seemed to keep Kea calm and cooperative. What they did not know was that this was where the real conversations happened, the deep ones that shaped who Kea was becoming. Kea had grown into a remarkable being. She spoke human language now with only a slight accent. She had learned to read and write. She understood human art, human music, human philosophy, but more than that, she had become someone who thought deeply about questions that mattered. She had become a person, not just a subject of study. That night, Kea asked a question that Tayo had been expecting for months. "Tayo," she said, sitting beside him as they looked out at the stars, "why you save me? Why when I vex Thor? Why when your people fear my people? Why when easy thing is let me die in cave?" It was the central question of everything. The question that had driven every choice Tayo had made. He had known it would come, but now that it was here, he was not sure how to answer it. The answer was too big, too personal, too tangled up with his own pain and history. "Because," he began, then stopped. He started again. "Because no one did that for me, Kea. Because when I was alone and hurting, no one chose kindness, and I could not bear to let another person suffer that way." Kea was quiet, processing his words. Her markings shifted to a softer gold color. "You alone? You hurt?" And so Tayo told her. He told her things he had never told anyone except Hei-Wan. He told her about his mother who had given birth to him on a mining colony during a time of famine and resource scarcity. He told her about how his mother had left him at a care facility when he was 3 days old because she could not afford to keep him. He told her about growing up in orphanages, moving from place to place, never staying anywhere long enough to feel like home. "I was unwanted," Tayo said, and his voice was steady, but his eyes were wet with unshed tears. "Every place I went, I was a problem. I was extra mouth to feed. I was a burden. The adults who took care of me, many of them were kind because it was their job, but few of them actually loved me. Few of them looked at me and saw someone worth loving." Kea reached out and took his hand. Her grip was warm and gentle. "But there was one person," Tayo continued. "There was a woman named Hye-Jin. She worked in the kitchens of the orphanage on Station Prime. She did not have much. She had her own problems, her own suffering. But when she saw me, really saw me, she decided that I mattered. She saved extra food for me. She braided my hair with patience even though I was restless and difficult. She told me that I was worthy of love, that I was a good person, that the world was lucky to have me in it." "This Hye-Jin," Kea said. "She is here now? With you?" Tayo's chest tightened. "No. When I was 10 years old, the station suffered a catastrophic failure. Many people died. Hye-Jin died saving other people. I survived because of what she had taught me. I survived because she had given me a foundation of belief that I was worth surviving for. But she never knew Kea. She never knew how far her kindness traveled. She never knew how it would reshape my entire life." "But you know," Kea said, "and that what matter." "Yes," Tayo said, "that is what matters. And when I found you in that cave dying and alone, I saw Hye-Jin's face in my memory. I understood that I had a choice. I could walk past you. I could let you die. Or I could choose to be for you what Hye-Jin was for me. I could choose to see your worth even when the whole world was telling me you were dangerous and worthless." Kea turned to face him fully. Her markings were now glowing a brilliant gold, almost blinding in intensity. "You give me what no one give you," she said slowly, understanding breaking across her face like sunrise. "You give me what take away from you. You give me family. You give me love, even when hard, even when others not understand." "Yes," Tayo said simply. "But Tayo," Kea said, and her voice took on a deeper note, more serious. "You do this for you, or you do this for me?" The question struck Tayo like a physical blow. He opened his mouth to answer, then closed it again. He realized, in that moment, that he did not have a simple answer. The truth was both and neither. He had saved Kia partly because he wanted to be for her what Hyejin had been for him, but he had also saved her because he needed to believe that kindness could matter, that one person's choice could change outcomes, that the pain of his own childhood could be redeemed by his choices as an adult. "I think," Teo said carefully, "that I saved you for both reasons, and neither reason is wrong. But you are right to ask. Because if I saved you only to make myself feel better, to fill the empty spaces in my own heart, then I am not truly being kind to you. I am using your pain to heal my own pain." Kea made a soft sound and reached up to touch his face again, her clawed hand infinitely gentle. "You learn," she said. "You learn that love not always simple, that people can do right thing for wrong reason, and still right thing become real thing." "When did you become so wise?" Teo asked, smiling despite the tears that finally spilled over his cheeks. "I have good teacher," Kia said. They sat together in silence for a long time, watching the stars rotate slowly as the station made its orbit. Teo thought about Hyejin, about how her single act of kindness had rippled forward through decades, through species boundaries, through the vastness of space itself. He thought about how one person's choice to see worth in another person could change everything. "Teo," Kea said finally, "you teach me that kindness, not weakness. You teach me that strength and gentleness can live in same person. You teach me that Vex Thor way not only way, but now I think, maybe I teach you something too?" "What is that?" Teo asked. "I teach you that love not need to be repayment," Kia said. "That I not owe you anything because you save me. That I love you because you are you, not because you fix me or complete you. I love you because we choose to love. That harder thing than sacrifice. That real compassion." And in that moment, on an orbital station floating between worlds, between species, between past and future, Teo understood something that would have taken him years to learn any other way. True compassion was not about control. It was not about making someone grateful or indebted. It was about seeing another being as fully equal, fully worthy, fully real, and loving them anyway, with no expectation of return. The alarm that woke everyone on the orbital station was different from the routine drills. This was a real alarm, the kind that made hearts stop and made people move with desperate urgency. Teo was in the research laboratory when he heard it, and he immediately knew something catastrophic had happened. He ran to the tactical command center. What he saw there made his blood go cold. On the main screen, displayed in bright red against the black of space, was a Vex Thor war fleet. Not one or two ships, not a small raiding party. An entire fleet, hundreds of vessels arranged in attack formation, moving toward human space with inevitable purpose. Admiral Jae-sung was already there, his face flushed with anger and something like vindication. He turned to see Teo standing in the doorway and smiled a cruel smile. "Your little experiment has consequences, Commander," he said. "The Vex Thor are coming, and we have no way to know how many ships they will bring or how much destruction they will cause. This is war, Teo, real war, and you helped cause it by convincing this council to waste resources on that creature instead of preparing for this inevitable conflict." Teo said nothing. His mind was racing, trying to process what this meant. The Vex Thor were coming, yes, but that did not necessarily mean they were coming to destroy. Kea had said that Vex Thor herd structure was complex. Could there be negotiation? Could there be a possibility for the first contact to be peaceful? Before he could voice these thoughts, he heard her voice behind him. "Teo!" He turned to see Kea, standing in the doorway of the command center. Her markings were flashing rapidly. A pattern he had learned meant extreme stress or fear. She was looking at the screen with intense focus. "That, my people," she said. "That herd. I recognize marking on lead ship. That Kethrol. He was... She paused, struggling to find the words in human language. He was exiled like me. He show mercy when he not supposed to. They cast him out. He survive. He's strong now. He lead other exiled ones. Admiral Jae Sung stepped forward. This changes everything. We can use this. We can use you, girl. You will broadcast a message to that fleet. You will give us the targeting codes for their ships. You will help us destroy them while they are still far from any human settlement. No, Kea said quietly. That was not a request, Jae Sung said, his hand moving toward his weapon. You are a Vex Thor. Your people are attacking human space. This is an act of war. Teo stepped between Kia and the Admiral. His heart was hammering in his chest, but his voice was steady. Sir, you cannot order her to do this. She is not a soldier. She is a research subject under protection agreements established by the Scientific Council. The Scientific Council is about to be overridden by the Military Council, Jae Sung said coldly. In the face of an existential threat, military command takes priority, and that creature, he gestured toward Kea, is either a hostage or a weapon. Either way, she will do what we say, or we will dissect her to extract every piece of knowledge about her species that we can find. Teo felt Kia's hand on his shoulder. He turned to look at her, and in her eyes he saw what she had always seen in his, a person making a choice, whatever that choice might cost. Let me try something, Kea said. Before weapons, let me try something. Try what? Admiral Jae Sung demanded. Let me talk to them, Kea said. Let me send message, not targeting code, not surrender, just message, person to person, from exiled to exiled. Jae Sung laughed. You think you can stop an armada with words? That is naive even for a child. Maybe, Kia said, and her voice was calm now, certain. But maybe Teo teach me something true. Maybe one person can change things. Maybe I try. You lose nothing if I try. The Admiral looked at Kea for a long moment, then at Teo. Finally, he gestured to a communications officer. 3 minutes, he said. You have 3 minutes to broadcast whatever message you want. Then we begin targeting their ships. A young human officer named Min Jun quickly set up a broadcast system. Kea walked to the communication station and placed her hands on the controls. She took a deep breath, and then she began to speak. She spoke in her native Vex Thor language, her voice clear and strong, carrying harmonics that human vocal cords could never produce. She spoke for 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Teo could not understand the words, but he heard the emotion in her voice. He heard determination, hope, and something that sounded like love. When she finished, she stepped away from the controls. Admiral Jae Sung was already ordering the targeting sequence to begin, but then something unexpected happened. The tactical officer's eyes widened. Sir, he said, the lead ship is responding. They are broadcasting back. How long before they reach firing distance? Jae Sung demanded. 10 minutes, sir, but they are reducing speed. They are not maintaining attack formation. They are... Sir, I think they are responding peacefully. The entire command center went silent. No one moved. On the screen, the massive war fleet was slowing its approach. The ships were spreading out, moving into a formation that was not aggressive, but neither was it completely defensive. It was the formation of a group waiting to talk. What did you tell them? Teo asked Kea, his voice barely above a whisper. I tell them truth, Kea said. I tell them I was exiled. I tell them I find humans who not want to kill me. I tell them humans have person in them who understand pain of being cast out. I tell them Teo save me, and that make me believe that maybe Vex Thor can save each other too. That maybe we not have to be what our ancestors make us be. That maybe we can choose different path. And they responded to that? Jae-sung said, his voice filled with disbelief. Not all agree, Kea said. Some still want fight. But Kethral, he listen. He understand. He exiled too. He know what it like to be alone. He send message. He say he want to talk. He want to know this human, Teo. He want to understand how one human learn to show compassion to enemy. Admiral Jae-sung's face was turning red. He was clearly furious that his opportunity for war was slipping away. But the council members who were present in the command center were looking at Kea with something that might have been respect, or at least acknowledgement that something extraordinary had just happened. Over the next hours, a communication protocol was established. Kethral, the leader of the exile fleet, agreed to a formal meeting. A neutral location was chosen, a station at the borderline between human and Vexthor space. Teo was to attend this meeting along with council representatives, and Kea, despite the military's objections, insisted on being present as well. I speak your language, she said to the council. I understand both people. I must go. This is my purpose. This is why I alive. In the hours before the meeting, Teo found himself alone with Kea one final time. They stood in the observation chamber looking at the stars, looking at the war fleet that hovered in space like a threat that had transformed into something else entirely. I do not know what will happen, Teo said to her. I know, Kea replied. But Teo, whatever happen, we do right thing. We try. We use words instead of weapons. We choose bridge instead of wall. That matter. That what Hyajin try to teach you. That what you teach me. That what I teach them now. What if they reject you again? Teo asked. What if your own people decide you are still too different, still too weak for being kind? Then I find different home, Kea said simply. But I not alone. I have you. I have Hai Wan. I have humans who see me as real person. That enough. That better than herd that not see my heart. As they prepared for the departure to the neutral station, Teo understood that this was the moment where everything changed. Kea had made her choice. She was no longer a research subject or a bridge between species. She had become something more profound. She had become hope made flesh, proof that kindness could transcend the deepest divides.